Hi, everyone, and welcome back to English for You. I'm Erin.
And I'm Mike.
And we are talking about life in Canada's far north and how you might live there, or how people used to live there when they weren't able to make houses out of wood or other building materials. Instead, in the winter, they had to build igloos, which were made of snow.
That's right. These people, the Inuit people, or the native people of northern Canada and other northern parts, they didn't have normal homes, partly because they didn't have wood to build them with, but also because they had to hunt animals. And the animals would be moving around, so they needed these homes that they could build quickly, live in for a day or two, and then move on and not have to take all that stuff with them. And of course, since there's a lot of snow, it was the perfect thing to use.
Right,
but
they don't need to carry it around.
They don't need to carry
it's
lying around all the time. But of course, it's not easy to build a house out of snow. They need special techniques. But once they did, these places were actually quite comfortable. You'd think that they were cold, but they weren't.
That's right. They kept them. The igloos kept people warm, and there were a couple reasons for this. You know, as we know, the warm air kind of moves up and the cold air moves down. So inside the igloo, they'd kind of lived on a raised area while the door was sort of at the bottom. So the cold air went down towards the door. And another thing that kept them warm, their body heat. So once your kind of body warms up, the area around you warms up as well. But just in case you ever find yourself surrounded by compacted snow, we are going to tell you how to make an igloo.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's a good thing to learn. I just hope I never have to use this information. But let's find out how we could, or more importantly, how the Inuit people could actually make an igloo. That's cool.
Right. Okay, let's do that now.
Reading.
Igloos, staying warm in a house of snow. The next time you find yourself surrounded by snow, why not try making your own igloo? First, make sure you have the right kind of snow. The snow needs to be dense, and there should be about 30 centimeters of it on the ground. Without these conditions, you'll have difficulty cutting your blocks. Next, draw a circle in the snow. Stand a stick up straight and tie a short rope to it. Then, walk around it, tracing a line in the snow with the rope. Now that you have a circle, start cutting your blocks. To build the igloo, make sure the bottom row of blocks slowly curves in by cutting them at an angle. Keep building on this row, using smaller blocks as the walls get higher. Each upper row of blocks should tilt inward as well. Finally, place the last block above your head. If you've followed these instructions, your igloo shouldn't cave in. To finish up, cut a vent and a door into your igloo. Enjoy your comfortable new winter home.
All right, so our article starts out by saying, the next time you find yourself surrounded by snow, why not try making your own igloo?
That's not a bad idea.
Right.
Okay, but do make sure you have somewhere else to stay if you can.
Yes.
Don't plan to stay in the igloo. But it is a very special thing, and it also takes a very special kind of snow. That's interesting. It says, first, make sure you have the right kind of snow. Now, for anyone from Canada, they'll know, oh yeah, there are different kinds of snow.
Yes.
So let's find out what the right or the correct or the best kind of snow would be for an igloo.
Okay, well, we kind of talked about this in the first day, but it says here the snow needs to be dense.
Dense.
And there should be about 30 centimeters of it on the ground. Now, I doubt you'll ever see that anywhere in Taiwan.
No.
But in Canada, it is actually quite a normal thing. So What we mean by dense is that something has a much larger mass, so it's much heavier compared to its size, okay? So if you're thinking about snow, a snowflake is pretty small, right? And it doesn't weigh a lot. But when you get a whole bunch of snowflakes together, they can be actually quite heavier than they look, than their size is. So in this case, we're saying that the snow can't be very light because light snow doesn't kind of go all together in a very small area. But when it is nice, thick snow, it kind of gets compacted like we talked about in the previous day, and it gets very heavy. So you don't want the light, fluffy snow. You want the thick, heavy snow so that it doesn't fall apart.
Okay, so this is snow that's a little bit wetter. There's more water in there. It's the same kind of snow you might use to make a snowball or build a snowman. The other stuff is like powder, and it doesn't stick together, and it would not be useful. So you need this special kind of wet, heavy, dense snow, and there should be about 30 centimeters of it on the ground. Okay, that's about 1 foot, to use another way of measuring things. But a centimeter, this noun basically is 1/100th of a meter. Okay, so it's about the width of half of your fingernail or something like that. It's a very, very small size, a centimeter. But if you put 100 together, that's a meter. And if you say, oh, I'm 1.5 meters tall, you're saying I'm 150 centimeters tall. All right, so it's just a way of measuring things. For example, an inch is about the same as 2.5 centimeters.
Right.
All right, so there we go.
Okay, so you've got the right kind of snow.
Right.
You have enough of it.
30 centimeters. Okay.
Here's what it says next. Without these conditions, you'll have difficulty cutting your blocks. Of course, you can't cut through light, fluffy snow. It doesn't work. All right, so we used a grammar pattern in that sentence. We used subject with, has, have, or had. Then we add in a kind of adjective or noun kind of thing, or a noun, difficulty, problems, trouble, a hard time, and then we finish it off with verb ing. So you'll see that in our example sentence in the article. You will have difficulty cutting your blocks. So we've got our subject, we have our have, has, had, we have difficulty, and a verb ing. Now we use this structure to show that something is not very easy to do. We always start with the subject, that's who or what we're talking about. Then we want to add the verb have. Next, we say the word that shows what the trouble is. We could say problems, trouble, a hard time. And we need to pay attention how we use these words. So, for example, trouble and difficulty are uncountable plus singular nouns, whereas problems is a plural noun, and a hard time is a singular noun and countable. Now, after we choose what kind of word we want to use here, we have to follow it with a verb ing. Here's some examples. If you choose the wrong snow, you will have trouble cutting your blocks. Or if you choose the wrong snow, you will have a hard time cutting your blocks. Here's another example not related to snow. Sharon doesn't speak Chinese, so she has problems understanding people in Taiwan. Or we could say Sharon doesn't speak Chinese, so she has difficulty understanding people in Taiwan.
All right, excellent. So there we go. We are making sure we have the right snow and we have enough of the snow. What's the next step? It says next. So the next thing you do, next, draw a circle in the snow. Well, drawing a circle with a pen on a piece of paper is hard. How do I make sure it's a perfect circle?
There is a good way to do this. So what you need to do, you need a thing to use. So it says here, stand a stick up straight. Okay, so you're kind of putting the stick in the snow, you're putting it up straight, and you're going to tie a short rope to it. Now, you want to use a short one, or basically, you want to think about how big your igloo is going to be.
True.
How much work you want to put into this. So usually just try to make a small igloo, so use a short rope. Okay, so you're going to just put the stick in the ground. A stick is, of course, a long, thin piece of wood or plastic that's usually used for a certain purpose. It might be a stick that comes from a tree, like a tree branch. Or it could just be like a long, thin piece of plastic that you kind of have in your house, or it's sort of like a tool in this case.
Interesting.
Now, we have a couple of example sentences. We could say the kids used 2 sticks as goalposts. Or we could say, find some dry sticks and we'll make a campfire.
Okay, so you use these sticks, basically these long, thin pieces of wood, and you put one straight, so you stand it up straight. If something is straight, it doesn't bend, it doesn't curve, it goes in one line that doesn't change in any way from left to right or anything like that, from A to B. Basically, yeah, put 2 dots on a piece of paper and draw a line that connects them straight through from A to B without turning or changing or bending or going anywhere. That will be a straight line. A lot of things in the world are straight. You know, flagpoles, bus stops are straight. Buildings, often the walls of a building or the room will be straight. They won't bend very much because it's just a good, strong way to build things. All right. For example, we could say, keep walking straight until you reach a stop sign, then turn right to find the market. So don't turn left, don't turn right. Just go from one place to another. Walk in the same direction.
Right. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a hold of the rope in one hand.
Yes.
The other end is tied to the stick.
Yes.
Then you're going to walk around it. So walk around the stick, tracing a line in the snow with the rope.
Oh, it's kind of like using that thing in math class to make a circle.
Exactly.
Oh,
it's just kind of like
way.
a stick and a rope.
So you don't have to use your eyes or anything. Just make sure you walk slowly and carefully right around the stick, holding onto the rope, and you'll end up with a nice circle. So now that you have a circle, now it says start cutting your blocks. You can begin to build. And think of these blocks kind of like the bricks that we use to build a wall or a house or something like that.
Okay, so there's a bit of science to this, and we're kind of going to get into it here. It says, to build the igloo, make sure the bottom row of blocks slowly curves in by cutting them at an angle. Okay, so what we mean here by curve is when something curves, it bends or moves in the shape of an arc. That's kind of like a half circle, which looks like part of a circle. It's just like the opposite of a straight line, okay? So you've got a straight line, kind of make it kind of bend in the middle. You'll have like a half a circle shape. That's what you're doing when something curves. So you want to cut them at an angle to do this.
Okay, and an angle is basically a space between different lines where they join. All right, so think of a triangle or something like that. A lot of you know from math and stuff, triangle has 3 sides. Well, where those 3 lines meet, those 3 corners, those are angles. Okay, angles can go from anywhere from basically 0 or 1 up to about 180, and then it starts to kind of curve back around itself to 360. For example, the corners of the TV screen meet at a 90-degree angle, like the corners of a square or a rectangle or something like that. So basically, you're curving these walls in so it will sort of end up like the top part of a circle or a cap or something like that.
Now, when you're cutting the first row of blocks, you kind of want to make them into a ramp shape. Okay, so like you want each block that you put to be a little bit higher than the next one so you can build up. That's kind of what we're saying here.
You want them to join at the top when you're finished.
Exactly. Okay, so here's what you do next. You say, keep building on this row using smaller blocks as the walls get higher. So you're going to keep putting blocks on top of the bottom row, but you don't need to use as big ones each time. You want the blocks to get smaller and smaller as you get higher.
Okay, and we also saw it says each upper row of blocks should tilt inward as well. So again, we're getting this idea that it's going to be like a curved roof or like the top part of a circle or like the shape of a baseball cap or something like that.
That's right.
So it tilts inwards, it moves inward. This word tilt, it basically means to go from a straight position to a slightly leaning or a slightly falling over position.
Right.
If you're standing on something like a bus or a boat that's moving, you'll have to tilt your body a little bit, right? If you don't, you'll fall over as the floor of the bus moves around and shakes and changes shape. You'll also have to tilt your body, move it a little bit from the straight position to a slightly angled position. And in the case of an igloo and its walls, you're tilting inward, towards the inside.
That's right. So inward is another adverb, and this one shows a direction that something should move in. So, of course, something that moves inward moves toward the inside or center of something, hence why we say in. Now, when you use the adverb toward, you're going to say that something moves to another thing. If you use the adverb backward, you'll say that something moves back. Okay, so that's what we're saying here. We're going to kind of make each row of these blocks kind of move towards the middle of the igloo as you get higher to the top. Another example, if you start painting the floor over by the wall and then move inward, you will get trapped.
Yeah, you'll be stuck in the middle of the room surrounded by wet paint. So don't move inward, move outward from the inside towards the outside. All right, so we've got this. It's curving in, it's curving in, it's curving in. Finally, all the different sides of your igloo, the big circle will meet in the top right above your head. And it says, finally, place the last block above your head, right in the middle of the circle, right above your head. Sometimes they would leave that out, and that's where smoke could leave if you had a fire.
They do that. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so of course by this point you want to be building inside the igloo.
Sure, you are inside now. Yeah.
All right, so it says here, if you followed these instructions, your igloo shouldn't cave in. Now, of course, instructions here, we're using this as a plural noun. Instructions are the information that you give to someone, often by writing something down, writing the steps down, to tell someone how to complete a task. For example, you might say, you should read the instructions before you try to put the table together. We have kind of given you some of the steps that you will need to follow to build this igloo. So now you have these instructions. You might be able to go build one yourself. But if you do it right, the igloo shouldn't cave in.
Right, it should stand up strong and be perfectly good to use. But if you don't follow the instructions or make some mistakes, it will cave in, or it could cave in. To cave in basically means a building or something like that falls down, okay? As if you're in a cave inside a tunnel in a mountain or something like that, and suddenly the walls break, the roof falls in. Buildings will cave in if they're built badly, or maybe in an earthquake or something like that. That could cause things to cave in as well. So you don't want that to happen. So let's say you follow the instructions. It's standing strong. It hasn't caved in. You're still stuck inside.
That's right, but you're not quite finished yet. It says to finish up, cut a vent and a door into your igloo. Now, if you followed our instructions, you should have naturally made a door. Okay, so you won't really need to cut out a block, but a door will sort of already be there. You can just kind of widen it, make it a little bit bigger to get in and out of. But you do want to make sure to cut a vent into the snow. Now, a vent is a hole of some kind, just a hole or even a pipe, for example, that allows air, gas, liquid, or some other substance to move into an area or move out of an area. Now, you want a vent in your igloo so that fresh air can come inside, because you also need to breathe that fresh air. And when you breathe out carbon dioxide, which if it doesn't escape into the air, it will make you very sick.
That's dangerous for sure. So a vent, it's also like what you might have over the top of your stove.
Right,
so when you're cooking, the smoke and the smells can get, pushed outside outside your kitchen, so it's more comfortable and smells nicer. So there you go. You've got your door, you've got your vent. You could probably put a small fire inside if you want. want. It's wonderful. As it says here, enjoy your comfortable new winter home.
Right.
And take a picture of it and send it to us.
Right, so that we don't have to live there.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Okay, well, we are all finished up for today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back for our For You chat.
For You chat.
All right, our For You chat question today. Do you think you would like living in a cold place? Why or why not?
Well, I have lived in a cold place in Canada. It's okay. In fact, you know what the thing about Canada in the winter, the thing I don't like the most, it's not the cold. It's also because if you're in the north like this, or even further north like the Inuit, it's dark a lot.
It is dark a lot.
That's something people in Taiwan don't really appreciate.
Yeah.
The summer nights are a little bit longer here. The winter's a little bit shorter. But in Canada, in the north, it's a big difference. In the summer, the sun will go down at 9:30 or 10 p.m., but in the winter, it'll go down around 4:30 or 5 p.m.
Right.
And I remember going to school and leaving school in the afternoon. In the dark.
It is. And you know what?
It's kind of weird.
That can really affect people's moods.
Makes you sad.
Right. So one thing that happens a lot in Canada and other cold places is that you get a kind of condition called SAD, and it's called seasonal affective disorder.
The winter blues.
Yeah, we call it the winter blues. And, that's why a lot of people in Canada, they travel to the south in the winter so that they can get some sunshine, because that sunshine really helps you mentally. That is a big thing about living in Canada. It can be pretty tough to do that. I don't mind the cold.
No?
I don't mind the cold at all. In fact, I would prefer Taiwan to be about the same temperature as it is right now in the winter, because it makes me sleep much better.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
They do say it's good to sleep in the cold.
Right.
But when you got to put on all those clothes just to go
tough.
to the store, or you slip and fall on the icy roads, and I did that every winter.
Yep.
Sometimes then you're like, I hate this place.
Right.
But then again, if you find me in August in Taiwan, when it's 35 degrees, I'll probably be saying, I hate this place. You know. So nowhere is perfect. The cold has its good things and bad things. And of course, warm places like Taiwan have good things and bad things too. Well, what about you guys? Would you like to live in the cold? Have you ever lived somewhere really cold like that? Have a chat about that, and we'll be back with a lot more great articles very soon. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Igloos. Staying warm in a house of snow. The next time you find yourself surrounded by snow, why not try making your own igloo? First, make sure you have the right kind of snow. The snow needs to be dense, and there should be about 30 centimeters of it on the ground. Without these conditions, you'll have difficulty cutting your blocks. Next, draw a circle in the snow. Stand a stick up straight and tie a short rope to it. Then, walk around it, tracing a line in the snow with the rope. Now that you have a circle, start cutting your blocks. To build the igloo, make sure the bottom row of blocks slowly curves in by cutting them at an angle. Keep building on this row, using smaller blocks as the walls get higher. Each upper row of blocks should tilt inward as well. Finally, place the last block above your head. If you've followed these instructions, your igloo shouldn't cave in. To finish up, cut a vent and a door into your igloo. Enjoy your comfortable new winter home.
Vocabulary Review.
Centimeter. This snake is pretty small. It's only about 30 centimeters long, so I think it's a baby. Stick. The children gently touched the bird with a stick to see if it was still alive. Straight. The general shouted at the soldiers and told them to stand up straight. Angle. These two roads meet at an angle. In between them is a small park. Inward. As you go further inward, you'll see there are paintings all over the cave walls. Instructions. Jackie followed some instructions and put this shelf together.